Okay, so I hope that I'm audible to everyone. So in this video, we are going to basically explain a little bit about the new course at KDU that's been introduced to local students since last week. It's been about 10 days now, where now local students can apply to study medicine as a day scholar, so privately. You don't have to anymore apply as a cadet. You can apply privately as a day scholar in order to study medicine. So let's start with some of the requirements that are needed in order to study medicine KDU as a day scholar for local students. So first thing to keep in mind is that you need to be a citizen of Sri Lanka. You need to be between the age of 17 to 24 by the closing date of application. So that means if you're 24 and 2 months, obviously you're not qualified to enroll for the course. So by the time the application ends, you should be a minimum of 23 months and 23 years and 11 months. You should be unmarried. And in terms of grades that you require to enroll for this course, if you take the local syllabus, you need two C's in biology and chemistry, and you need one S in physics. And if you're doing London A levels at Excel, Cambridge, you need two C passes in biology and chemistry and one D in physics. So all of these results should be achieved in one sitting, and obviously for the local syllabus there are three shies. So you can't take certain grades from one shy and other grades from the second shy. All of them have to be passed within the same shy. Okay. When it comes to the London A levels, there were a few questions being asked about this. You need to, there are exams in AS and there are exams in A2. So you, in order to apply for this course right now, you need to have passed both AS and A2, and you should have your final A level results. So if you're someone who's currently doing your A2, your A2, your second year of A levels, then you can't apply for this coming year for this course that ends in, which application process ends in May. So you'll have to wait until next year to join intake 42. So with that said, there are also marks, a minimum of 30 marks for the common general test, and also a C pass for English language for the English language course they provide by Cambridge, Excel, or for the local syllabus. Now, having said this, all of these grades obviously have the minimum requirements that you need to achieve in order to meet the requirements of the university. But one thing that you need to keep in mind is that there is a lot of competition. So students who apply with better grades than two C's and one S, those will be taken before students who have just two C's and one S. Okay, so based on competition, the best students with the best grades will be selected first, and everyone else will be given a second choice. Okay, so that's one thing to keep in mind, because a lot of people have been asking me about this. Is you need to keep in mind that because of competition, there are minimum amount of seats available at the university. Once those get filled, everyone else who applied obviously don't get a chance to enroll to the course. So with that said, so those are the basic requirements that are required for you guys to basically register and enroll for the course. Now let's talk a little bit about the tuition fees. Now, the full entire course for you guys would be 12,500,000 rupees. And that's for the full 5 years. But you're not supposed to pay the full amount in one go. You'll be paying 2.5 million every single year. So right now the application process will end next month, May. So once you get selected, you're supposed to pay the first installment of 2.5 million. And then at the end of each year, towards the end of each year, around October, November, you'll be reminded by the university to pay the next tuition fee. So which means that by the end of this year, around November time, you'll have to pay the next installment of 2.5 million. Now, another question that I was asked was whether you can break down this installment into small and small installments. Let's say the 2.5 million, if you wanted to break it down into, let's say, five small installments of 500,000, you can't do that. The entire amount of 2.5 million will need to be paid all in one go. And usually KDU will ask you guys to submit personal bank statements from your father and mother, and or any savings that your family might have, so just to get a feeling of whether you guys will be able to pay the total amount of tuition fees that you're meant to, which you're supposed to pay for that particular year. And obviously, apart from the tuition fees, there are other hidden costs like library charges, which stands at about 6,000 rupees, and there are other expenses, including uniforms. So those are all things that you need to pay for. The university is not going to pay for those things. And also, if you want to acquire books for the course or any other material like dissection kits for anatomy, lab coats, those are not provided from the university. You'll have to pay for those things yourself. Okay, so if you guys have any questions, obviously there's a live chat going on, so you guys can drop your questions and I'll answer those questions as well. So when it comes to the application procedure, you can go directly to the KDU website at www.kdu.ac.lk, and you'll have to fill up the application, which is given on the website, and together with that there will be a non-refundable fee of 3,000 rupees for the degree program that you'll have to pay. So in case you get rejected, obviously it's non-refundable, you're not going to get your money back. Okay, so that's all in terms of the entry requirements and the application process, tuition fees. So let's talk a little bit about the hostel facilities. Now there are around KDU, around the Ratmalana area, there are a lot of hostel facilities for you guys to, a lot of rooms and so on. But our own hostels are found at Verere, which is linked together with the University Hospital of KDU, and usually and there will be a mixture of students there, including cadets. There will be day scholars, international students. So you'll be basically mixed with all of them, and there are two different categories. Obviously, all the girls will be on one side, the boys will be on the other, and usually for you guys, the tuition and the price for the hostel will be between 15,000 to about 20,000 per month. So that's another cost that obviously you have to bear. It's not part of the tuition fees. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the course structure. So it's going to be 5 years, and obviously that's if everything goes well. So if there are some delays, like for example, our year has been delayed a little bit due to COVID, so we have about 8 months to 9 months delay. So we are supposed to do basically 6 years, technically 6 years instead of 5 years. But optimally, if everything goes well, you guys will be doing a course that lasts 5 years. It's going to be a full 5 year from January to December, and you're going to be studying 14 subjects during that time. During the first 1 year and a half, you'll be doing 3 subjects, which are anatomy, biochemistry, and physiology. And then from there, you'll be studying clinicals. And while doing clinicals, you'll also be doing other subjects like microbiology, parasitology, pharmacology, pathology, and then the big five towards the end, which are medicine, surgery, psychiatry, um, lost myself, that medicine, surgery, psychiatry, pediatrics, and obs and gynae. Okay, so I see that there are a couple of questions. How many students will KDU decide to take? So yeah, that's it depends. It changes every year. So far, because obviously this is a new thing to accept local students, but for us up to now, up to this point, there wasn't a limit like that. So they accept any students that meets all the requirements. They would get accepted. So I don't know how many students they're going to be taking for local students, but I think looking at the way KDU operates, uh, KDU is able basically to cope with about 100 to 150 students. So I would say that would be the limit. So there are, or since intake 41 already has about roughly about 50 students, I would say maybe the limit for this year's intake will be about 100 local students. But having said, obviously, it could be more, could be less. That information has not been put out yet. When will they inform us if we are selected, if we apply in August, September, intake 2024? Okay, so usually they respond pretty fast. So within 1 to 2 weeks, you guys will know whether you've been selected or not. But obviously, that could also be delayed a little bit, so it's completely up to them. And if you ask from them, they'll just say 1 or 2 weeks. So if later on, when you call them, they'll say maybe in 2 to 3 weeks. So there's not a definitive answer. So whenever they are ready to inform you guys that you are being selected, then they'll do that. Okay. So regarding August and September, that will be for the next intake of students. So it will not be intake 41 this year. The station that's been open right now is for intake 41. So in August, September, that's when they will start to select students for the next following year. The one that will start in January of 2025, which will be intake 42. So another thing to keep in mind is that intake 41 has already started in January. So there's been about 2.5 months of lectures that have been done for those students. So if you join from May onwards, obviously you're going to be a little bit delayed. So that's one thing to keep in mind. So you'll have to catch up on the things that you missed on for the past 2 to 3 months of university. Is there any particular Z score uh, for this new intake? So the Z score is not, we are not entirely sure of the Z score, but what I could say is basically Z score that's been used for cadets, especially, it's about 1.56. That's the Z score for them. I'm not sure about the Z score for any all the local students that will be applying. It could be the same, it could be different, it could be a little bit higher. So that's something to keep in mind. So you know already right there that the two C's and S, which are the requirements given by the university, are not going to meet the 1.56 standard of all the cadets that enter for the MBBS course. So you guys will be able to apply, you'll be considered, but when it comes obviously to the competition and the number of students that are going to be applying with better grades, you might not stand a chance. Okay, so keep in mind, obviously not to discourage you guys, so but you will have to have a realistic view of this, that they'll select the best students first, and then the students with lower grades later on, obviously if seats are still available. Okay, I hope those answers made sense to you guys. So if you have more questions, put those questions in the live box and then I'll get back to those. Okay, going back to the course structure. So you guys, in terms of clinicals, you're going to be placed in a lot of the hospitals around Colombo. During third year, you'll spending most of your times in the army hospitals, like of the three forces. just to give the opportunity for the seniors to get involved in the government hospitals. And then during fourth and fifth year, you'll be uh, going to Horne, Avisavale, Kalutere, Panudure. You'll be sitting in those hospitals for clinicals. And during fifth year, when you're supposed to do professorials, you're going to do them at the University Hospital KDU, which is the hospital that is affiliated with KDU. So you'll be working there for about 10 months doing the 5 subjects that I mentioned earlier. Okay. Another question that I was asked is about internships. Now, internships usually are given to students who have done biology, chemistry, and physics. So for us, coming from outside of Sri Lanka, obviously that was an issue because not everyone studies physics. Even to do medicine, you just need biology and chemistry. But obviously, for you guys, it's a different story. You obviously, as part of the local syllabus, you have to do both, all the 3 subjects. So it won't be a problem for you because the SLMC is basically, the council is basically looking for students who have done all 3 subjects in order to do the internship in Sri Lanka. And because the KDU course is an approved course by the SLMC, as soon as you graduate from the university, you are able to apply for um, internship for the internship program. But one thing to keep in mind is that KDU operates differently from all the other universities in Sri Lanka. The government universities are given the first choice. So because they're all doing the same exam, they have their own merit list. So um, they'll be basically allocated based on the grades that they get. But because we don't do the same exam that all the other university sit down and all that basically students get involved in, we have our own exams, final exams. So we have our own ranking. So we fall under all the other students. After every other students within the government university been selected, we get uh, positioned in the different hospitals across the country. Okay, so if you're planning to uh, to basically work in Colombo hospitals, the most likely, obviously, that's not going to happen. Those get filled by students from the government hospitals, from the government universities. See, there is one more question. I'm an EdXL A-level student living in Sri Lanka. Will I have to join the military? And are the extracurriculars activities important to get into KDU? Okay, so the extracurricular activities, those are important if you want to apply as a cadet. So they'll be looking at your grades, they'll be looking at extracurricular activities, any sports that you've done. So all of those are important for that application process. As a private medical student, you don't have to do those things. They don't look at your extracurricular activities. You don't have to join the army. You don't have to join the military. Okay, so you'll be paying basically the 12.5 million for the full course. You study as a day scholar, and once you're done, you can do whatever you want basically. If you're in the if you join the military, that's different. Once you're done with the course, then obviously you have to serve uh, the military for a number of years. So that's a completely different story. Okay, so yeah, so that's why the opportunity that has been given for you guys now is to basically study at KDU privately as day scholars without having to join the military. Okay, I hope that question made sense. So I'm just gonna go through some of the stuff that I mentioned earlier, just in case obviously there are new people that have joined in. So I'll go through basically the procedure and requirements. So you have to be a citizen of Sri Lanka between the age of 17 to 24, and you should be unmarried. And in terms of qualifications, if you've done the local syllabus, you'll have to have 2 Cs and 1S in biology, chemistry, and physics, respectively. And if you've done London A levels, then 2 Cs and 1D in biology, chemistry, and physics, respectively. Okay. Now, for this intake, for intake 41, which ends in May, they will be looking basically for students who have already completed their A levels and have already on their hands the final grades. So there were a few questions for the past 2 days regarding London A-level students who are doing AS and A2 level. If you're an AS, if you already received your grades for your AS course, but you're still yet to sit your A level, your A2 level, you can't apply for this course, because by the time you enroll to this university, you should already have your grades on your hand to be considered. So obviously that's not possible. So what you guys can do is to apply for the next year's intake, which will be around September to October, November time. Okay, that's when the application process for the new batch, which will start in January of 2025 for intake 42. Okay. um, so all your exams should be passed in the same sitting. So there were questions on this again, because obviously the local syllabus you get 3 shies, so you can't select grades from your first shy and grades from your second shy, and summarize, put them all together and say that you have the minimum requirements to be enrolled at the university. So you'll have to do all those exams in one sitting in the same shy and achieve at least 2 Cs and 1S. And like I said before, there will be a limited number of seats. And if let's say that there are 100 seats and there are 300 applications coming in, they'll select the best 100. So if there are students with 3 As or AAB, those guys will be selected before the people who are just meet the minimum requirements of 2 Cs and 1S. Okay. Just because you have the minimum requirements doesn't mean that you're going to get a seat, and also depends on the demand. Okay, so if there are 100 seats but there are only 70 applications, obviously all those 70 applications will be selected, and that's not something that the university obviously will tell us. So it's up to us obviously to apply, and if you have a little bit of luck, then you get selected that way. So with that, there will also be a common general test where you'll need to get a minimum of 30 marks or above, and English language test with a minimum of AC. Obviously, they won't look too much on the English requirements or common general test, but again, if there is a lot of competition between candidates, they could use also those two tests in order to screen between the best students and select those students with basically the best grades. Okay, so regarding the Z score, it's not entirely sure which Z score is going to be used, what is the median that they're going to be using. And like I said in a few of my other videos, for cadets they use a 1.56 Z score as a minimum requirement, which means a lot of the other people basically they get selected to study medicine as cadets have a much higher um, Z score than that, which will be around 1.75 to 1.8. But the minimum was 1.56, right? So in terms of application process, the application process, you'll find it at the KDU website. You'll have to fill up the application together with a non-refundable fee of 3,000 rupees. So in case where you don't get accepted, so you get rejected, obviously that's non-refundable. You won't get that money back. So with that said, I'm just going to mention a few words about hostel facilities around the university. So there are basically a lot of like private apartments done by individuals around the Ratmalan area, just in front of the university. So where you get basically rooms and you'll have to share with other students. So that's a possibility. The other one would be the hostel facility at the University Hospital of KDU, which is the hospital affiliated with our university. And that room basically varies from 15,000 to 20,000, if I'm not mistaken. Then there will be basically rooms with fans only, or rooms with ACs, and rooms with shared bathroom facilities, so rooms with their own bathrooms. So obviously that's up to you what your preference. um, and one thing that you mentioned before was that if there are a lot of students coming from outside of Colombo, those students will be given the preference for the hostel facilities. And students who are living in Colombo, obviously, they'll be given an option to apply. But if there is not that too much demand for the hostel facilities, then you might have a chance to get a room as well. But considering now that there are a lot of cadets, there are a lot of international students, we have students from Bhutan as well, and considering that local students are coming, there's going to be a huge demand for hostel. It's not going to be easy to get a room at hostel. So don't be discouraged, obviously, if you're not going to end up getting a room there. But obviously, there are tons of other options nearby the Ratmalan area. So I think that there's one more question. Hi, when will studies begin for the ones who get into KDU in the September 2024 intake? Yeah, so that will be in January. In January 2025, that's when you guys start. There will be intake 42. So, like I said, intake 41 has already started in January 2024. So, anyone who's going to be joining this intake is already a little bit late. So, there's been about 2 to 3 months of worth of lectures being done in anatomy, physiology, and biochemistry. And also, the lecturers are not going to repeat the course for the new students. So, it's up to you guys to catch up on those materials. So that's one thing that you'll have to keep in mind. But obviously, don't be discouraged by that. So there's no point in waiting until the next intake, because then you'll have to repeat your A levels again in order to be able to qualify for the new intake. Okay. All right. So just a little bit about the course now. Like I said, the course it's 5 years long, and it's different basically from the government course, where even though they have 5 years, obviously they get quite a lot of delays due to the riots and other stuff basically within the university. So that's something that doesn't happen at KDU. They tend to go quite smoothly with their course, and they're quite fast basically in making sure that the course gets delivered at the right time. But obviously, like we got delayed. So I'm technically in my 5th year, but because of COVID, we have about 10 months delay, where basically students were not able to go to the hospitals and do the clinical training. So in order to catch up on that, we got delayed as well. So we are doing our 6th year now. Next year we'll basically have our 6th year. So that's something to keep in mind. But if everything goes smoothly, then 5 years it's how long the course will last for. And you'll be studying 14 subjects during that time. And during your first 2 years, you'll do anatomy, physiology, and biochemistry. And then from there onwards, you'll be doing clinicals together with theoretical subjects, all the way up to your 5th year, when you'll only be doing clinicals on 5 subjects, which are surgery, medicine, pediatrics, obs and gynae, and psychiatry. Okay, so if you guys have any questions, obviously use the live box and answer any questions. So I'm just going to answer one of the questions that have been asked quite frequently in the past few days regarding internship. Um, you'll be able to do the internship in Sri Lanka by joining KDU, because KDU, the MBBS course at KDU is accepted by the SLMC Council. So that's not something that you should worry about, because obviously everyone who's coming to KDU has done biology, chemistry, and physics, and that's one of the requirements of the SLMC to see basically if you have done those three subjects, then you're basically able to study medicine to do your internship at the government hospitals. Um, so you don't have to do any additional exams like other students who maybe come from who go to study medicine abroad and then they want to come back to Sri Lanka to practice medicine. They'll have to do exams. So we don't have to do that. If you pass your grade, you pass your course with the minimum requirements, then you're basically able to do your internship. And based on your grades, then you'll be selected at different hospitals across the country. And like I said, the priorities will be given to government hospitals before you guys. So most likely you'll have to go and work in the periphery. There might be chances to work at the University Hospital or KDU as well, but obviously there are quite a lot of limited positions, so that's something to keep in mind as well. All right, so if you guys don't have any more questions, I'll end the meeting here today. Okay, so I think there's no more questions. So okay, so thank you guys for joining today. If you like the video, obviously make sure to leave a thumbs up down below and to subscribe to the channel. And if you have any questions, obviously use the comment sections down below in the videos, and obviously make sure to answer your questions. Okay, bye for now.